Hello guys, welcome to the lesson. And what is this? So this is called a globe, as you would know. And how many colors do you see on the globe? Of course, you can see many colors here. But which is the most prominent color on this globe? And that is blue. Why is that so? Because our earth is covered 71% by water. So in that case, we must know the names for different water bodies, shouldn't we? Well, that's the topic of this lesson. We are learning the names of different water bodies and we are finding out what they are. But that's not all. We are also learning how to use those names in English for our everyday conversations. So my name is Michelle and I'm really happy to have you with me. Stay tuned. I promise you loads of fun. Right, so here we are and we are going to look at some common names for water bodies, okay? And if you don't know their geographical meaning, then don't worry, I'm here to help you. Now the first thing that I want you to remember is this is pronounced as geographical, okay? Or you say geography for the subject. You don't say geography or geography, you say geography. All right, so with that, we start the lesson. Have you read this word in your geography books? It's Oasis. While you were maybe in grade 6 or 7, or maybe in grade 4 for that matter, you might have come across this word, Oasis. So in geography, Oasis is a small area of water in a huge desert, all right? It's usually a pond or a lake, all right? And around the pond or the lake, you find a lot of vegetation, which is quite natural because whenever we have water, we have trees and plants growing. And when there are trees and plants, there are animals also. So it's one isolated area in the desert where you find water, and you do not find water anywhere else in the desert except in the oasis. All right, so this is an isolated area of water in the desert. So this is the geographical meaning. But how can we use oasis in English? So oasis in English means a peaceful and a calm area in the midst of a lot of chaos. So if you see that there's a lot of chaos around you and you find this really peaceful area, you can call it an oasis, okay? So if you go to a place which is really chaotic, and there's this office, okay, and it's very peaceful. So you could say her office was an oasis of peace and sanity in the midst of the chaos. So oasis means an area of peace in the midst of a lot of disorder, noise, and chaos. So oasis is an area of peace. Now, do you know that oases were one of the most important modes of transportation back in historical days? Well, if you don't know, now you know that. Okay, now we look at the next name that we have. And this is a coast. So all these are nouns, right? Nouns because they are names of water bodies. Now, what is a coast? So coast is the area of land when the land meets the sea, okay? So this is the land and here is the sea. And this area is called the coast because here the land is meeting the sea and it's a beautiful place. It's also called a beach and we all love being on the beach or we all love being on the coast. Now, how can you use coast in English? That's the challenge. So coast means to succeed through something without any struggle. So when you pass something without making any effort. So it often happens, that the younger kids, your younger siblings, they don't have to work very hard in school, right? Because they get all your notes. So it happens with me. My younger sister coasted through school with top grades while I was struggling. So here, coasted means that she passed through school without any struggle. So in English, it means to pass through without struggle. Do you even know where do you get all your chocolate from? It comes from Ivory's Coast in Africa. Yes, that's the place where 31% of world's chocolate is made, because that's where you get your cocoa beans from, which is the basic ingredient to make chocolate. So you know it now, Ivory Coast. Okay, now we look at the third word that we have for the day, and that is an island. So you must have heard about this name earlier. So island is an area of land, okay, in the midst of sea. It's a small area of land in the middle of the sea, and it's not connected to any continent. It's not connected to any other part of the land. It's just there in the middle of the sea. And it's very beautiful to be on the island, trust me. So an area of land in the middle of the sea. Do you know 1 out of 6 people on the earth live on an island? I wish I was one of them, but sadly I'm not. And if you are one of them watching the video on an island, then do leave it to me in the comments. Exactly where are you watching from? Okay, so now we can use this name in English as well, all right? So just like Oasis, island also means a place of peace, or a place which is very calm in the midst of a lot of chaos. And from this meaning, we have a word called, actually it's a combination of words called a traffic island. Okay, now what is a traffic island? So do you see that the roads, they're almost intersecting, and there's a lot of traffic on the roads most of the times, and there are people who want to cross the road by walking on it, right? But how do they do that? Where do they wait until the traffic passes by? So for this purpose, in many countries, there are traffic islands, okay, which look something like this in the middle of, the roads. They're right there in the middle of the roads. It's a high platform where people can stand and wait until the traffic has passed. All right. So this is traffic island for you, and next time when you're struggling to cross the road, you know where to wait. You must wait at the traffic island. Great. Now with that, we look at the next word that we have. So bay. Bay is again a water body. Now bay is, all right, I'll draw it for you. When we have land curving in the water, okay, so this is water, and we have land which is curving in the water. So the land is actually going inside the water, the coast is going inside the water, and it is covering it by 3 sides, all right? So the water is covered by 3 sides, on 3 sides by water. Water is covered on 3 sides by land. This is what a bay is. And the world's most beautiful bay is Wine Glass Bay. You can see it for yourself. A wine glass bay looks like a wine glass. It looks as if, if you see the bird eye view, you'll feel that it's a wine glass. All right, so that's what a bay is. But how can we use it in English? Right, so in English, bay means a marked space, a space where a specific activity is done. So you could say that the truck pulled in the loading bay, which means the area where the truck would be loaded with material and stuff that it is supposed to carry. So bay is a marked space for a particular activity. Now we also have an idiom which is to keep someone at bay. Now to keep someone at bay is to keep them at a distance from yourself, right? So if you want to keep someone at a distance, this means that you want to keep them at bay, which is at distance. The next word that we have with us is a gulf. So a gulf is a larger bay. It's nothing very challenging or very difficult to understand. Geographically, it is a large bay. So Gulf is a large bay, nothing very difficult to understand. But we can use gulf in English to talk about a large distance or a large gap between opinions and thoughts. So you could say that the rich and the poor people in the society have a great gulf in their ideas, which means a great gap. All right, so gulf means a big gap or a great gap. We also have an idiom related to it, which is bridge the gulf. So bridge the gulf means to finish that gap between two communities or two, parties. So you could say that the peace plan can bridge the gulf between two countries, which means that it can bridge the gap between two countries. Now we look at the next one. So spring is actually in geography, it's like water coming out of rocks. Okay, water from rocks. Sometimes the spring can be really hot, so be careful with hot springs. In English, of course, you know that spring is a season as a noun, right? From between winters and summers when there are beautiful flowers that are growing. But we can use spring to talk about someone suddenly appearing in the scene. So like you're walking or you're in your room and you see that someone has just entered the room and you see them sitting right opposite you and you were possibly reading a book so you didn't pay attention. So you're like, where did you come from? Where did you spring from? I didn't see you, which means that where did you come from? I didn't see you. Okay, and we also have spring in the step, which means that a person who is very excited or very happy will have a spring in his step. Okay, now we look at the next word, which is delta. So delta is this. In geography also, this is the shape that this river forms when it meets the sea. So when the river is meeting the sea, it forms a delta, which is this triangular shape. And in English, it's not very hard to understand because delta is the fourth letter of the Greek alphabets. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta, right? Okay, I hope I was correct on that. All right, the next one we have is a watershed. Now, this is a very important word in English and you'll hear it very often. So geographically, it means that a lot of water is entering into the sea from a high area of ground into the river. So water from ground, a high area of ground into the river. But in English, watershed means an important period of our life, like the turning point. So watershed means the turning point. So like a point where you possibly marry someone or you change your career. So you could say that 2011 was the watershed year in her life because she changed her career and she remarried. Okay, so this is how you use this word. Now we have the last two words from geography, and the first one is a channel. So you know what a channel is, like a river channel. So any area of a river that can allow ships to pass through. So when a ship can pass through any area of river, that's called a water channel. But in English, we use channel to communicate with someone. So channel can be used to communicate. So if you want to use it, it can be used very formally by saying that complaints should be made through the correct channel, which means the correct route or the correct way to communicate. So channel actually means route. So in English, it means a route to communicate. Right. Now the last one that we have for the day is an iceberg. So iceberg is actually a part of glacier, okay, that is floating in the water, which is like a formation of ice, which is floating in the sea. Now, you know what an iceberg is. What you see on the top is very little, but what you see under the iceberg, what you can see is really huge. The same way in English, we can use this to say tip of the iceberg. Tip of the iceberg. So as you know that the internet is so vast, and what you find on the search engines is just the tip of the iceberg. When you actually research, you find so much detailed information on the internet. Great! So with this we come to an end of today's lesson, and I'll come back to you with more geographical terms that you can use. Thank you so much. I hope you had loads of fun. Bye-bye.